I've been talking lately about how certain persons should really, really seriously read Army Field Manual 3-24. That's FM 3-24. Now, this appertains to Trump, Barr, Chad Wolf, and all those people responsible for those thugs going to quell the riots that are supposedly, but not really, devastating the cities at this present time, due to various reasons. Of course, mostly because they have Democrats for governors or as their mayors or something like this, or they're female. Trump's willing to take on all comers. But of course, you can't use the legitimate military for this, so you have to use thugs in nameless sort of mercenary outfits and border controls. You know, the dregs. Okay? Now, we will begin a series discussing chapter by chapter exactly what is in FM 3-24. Now, number 1, chapter 1. The problem now is that the government is not seen as legitimate. The protesters are seen as legitimate. They have legitimate complaints. They have legitimate grievances. And so long as they're not out there killing people, they are peaceably protesting. Now, whether that takes place sitting there in the nude, as in one case, or dancing with flowers in another, that's perfectly fine. That's their form of expression. Therefore, walls of moms, legit. Walls of dads, veterans, asking people, what about your oath to the Constitution? All legit. And so far, the protesters have been very nicely well behaved, haven't destroyed much of anything. No spray paint and fireworks. A few broken windows, please. Come on. Now, the actions they are protesting, okay, is the part of the police acting as judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to arresting our brothers and sisters of color. Even if they're in custody, they're not particularly safe either. Or they get over-policed. Or they get locked up for no good reason. Okay? So, first of all, Trump himself is not seen as a legitimate president. He has not effected any effective government. He is totally not my president. He is totally incompetent. He is totally unqualified for the position. And yet, he was appointed by the EOC, even though the majority of citizens voted against him. Now, how they are governed matters. Let's just say 147,516 dead Americans because Trump couldn't get off his ass long enough to enact the plan that would have prevented pandemics from even happening. But no, it's a hoax perpetrated by the Democrats and their unfair, relentless wishing to get rid of him. Well, of course, he's illegit, naturally. He remains impeached. How about the Russian bounties? Why hasn't he said anything about that? The journalists chopped up and hacked to bits in Saudi Arabia. Oh, nothing about that. No. Income inequality after you got done helping the poor rich managed to survive, while the poor and the middle class get to pay their taxes for them. I'd like to pay my own taxes, thank you, and not theirs as well. Okay? Economic mayhem, jobs lost, stolen Supreme Court seat, all of the lies. It goes on and on and on. Okay? So naturally, one, not seen as legit government. Two, totally inept, ineffective, unreasonable, fascistic, if nothing else, authoritarian nonsense. Even the people heading the agencies haven't gotten around to being confirmed by his tame Senate. Chad Wolf, who's running this Homeland Security fiasco, shouldn't even be collecting a paycheck. His job was over earlier in July. He should have been out of the government completely. Gone. No paycheck, no benefits, no nada. Okay? And yet he's still there, proactively arresting people, which means they're kidnapping innocent citizens, tossing them into unmarked vans by people clad up in ersatz military uniforms, pretending they're legit. Okay? Next, there's a difference between the police, the legitimate police, they are the police of Portland, and the Fed thugs, the mercenaries, Border Patrol, ICE agents, Federal Protective Services, which don't have people, but have mercenaries hired for them by little Trumpettes in the government, of course. But all security forces must operate in accordance with established law of that jurisdiction, and they are not. The Fed thugs are not. They must use professional ethics. And the police are, the federal thugs are not. The protesters are, the federal thugs are not. All the protesters have to do is not hurt people, not kill people, not damage people, not buildings. Buildings, nobody cares. There's insurance for that. Okay? Use the appropriate level of force. Operate in accordance with established law of that jurisdiction. Use professional ethics. The federal thugs are not doing any of that. Okay? Also mentioned is, more than once is mentioned, address the underlying issues. The issues in the Portland case, and in Minneapolis, and in most of the United States, in fact, is the fact that the police are not following, have not committed to, and refuse utterly to do, is follow and adhere to Peel's principles of policing. Now, if they had, none of this would have been happening. None. But since this nation simply can't address the mistreatment of our brothers and sisters of color, because the only thing they have to hold themselves up and say that I'm better than anybody else seems to be the fact that they're paler than anyone else, is the reason why we can't get this done and solved and this issue over with. You have to accept the consequences of your actions. And if this means you have to face up that the reason you're not successful is your own problem, your own issue, and something that you failed to do as a white guy, with all the privileges which you do have, as opposed to your black brothers and sisters who don't have them, the fact that the police shoot black men standing in their backyards, talking on their own cell phone, and then get shot, killed. Right? Yeah, we have a race problem in this country, and it's about time we addressed it. And we stopped whining about it. And we stopped complaining. Oh, but they were violent. I'm sorry, your property values might go down because of violence. But that's what insurance is for. How many dead people can you bring back to life? You can't. So, you must address the underlying issues if you are going to be at all effective. We don't want to defund the police, so stop lying. We want to get rid of qualified immunity. That means if you commit murder while a police officer, it means you are not practicing Peel's principles of policing. The principles of policing indicate the fact that they're effective, because if you do it, there is an absence of crime. Period. Because you address the underlying issues. You address the underlying reasons for that crime. You don't go in to a protester and start slinging around a nice peaceful protest, winding down in Portland, as even the mayor explained. You don't send in your thugs and start proactively arresting, shooting them with rubber bullets, spraying them with tear gas, exploding flashbangs, and all the rest of that stuff. And now they're using even worse chemicals on them. These are your fellow citizens. He's trying to start a civil war. A president should not be doing anything of the kind. Listen to FM 3-24. And you won't fuck up. So, I hope this has helped. Next time, we'll talk about Chapter 2. And we'll go until it's over. Thank you for watching. I do hope this helps. By the way, the U.S. military has books on everything. And they're all freely available, because you've already paid for them with your tax dollars, and everything from cooking to carpentry to fighting insurgents to, taking care of a field, an army in the field, commissary, so on and so forth. Anything you could possibly want to know about. Including survival. How to survive if you happen to be where you don't want to be and where there isn't a grocery store. Ah, yes, I'm sure it's in there too. Thank you for watching, and please do come again.